What's happening, everyone? Welcome back to the FPL video. Today I'm going to be discussing what my initial predictions are for this FPL season. You may have seen it on other platforms and other FPL experts who discuss what their early thoughts and what are their early expectations and thoughts are on the game itself, the players, and how they believe the season will pan out. So before we get started, welcome first time if you've been here for the first time. If you've been here before, welcome back. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please subscribe. Hit the subscribe button, help me grow the channel. If you like the videos, please hit the like button as well. And if you want the latest notification for my content that I do release, please hit that notifications bell to be informed with the latest content itself. So let's not waste any further time and let's get stuck in. So I've got some original questions on my social media and people have been in contact with me asking me some generic questions around the game itself. So what I thought is I'll bring those questions to you guys, and these are my initial thoughts on the game, and this is what I believe in terms of my perspective for the FPL game and what the season will pan out in terms of my early predictions. So the first question I got, or the most common question I got, is who I believe will get the most points in the FPL season this year. So there's quite a few contenders, to be fair. Obviously, you've got Harry Kane, who got one of the highest points in terms of forwards last season. So, he got 242. Bruno Fernandes got 244. And Mo Salah got 231. So for me, again, it's going to be between those three players. I don't think De Bruyne, unless he has an absolute amazing season like he did a few seasons ago, will get close. But he could do. But if you ask me, honestly, without any personal agenda or favoritism, I generally believe it's going to be Bruno Fernandes, and I'll tell you the reason why I believe that. Now, firstly, obviously he's a premium player. He's pretty much going to be nailed on to play most games and minutes for United. In addition, if you look at his last season stats followed by the half season stats beforehand, in terms of United and their contribution to goals and his impact, he is pretty much part of every single movement or setup for them in general. So if we look at some of his stats, since he's been at United in a season and a half, he scored 26 goals and he's got 22 assists. Now that is phenomenal. For someone to come into a Premier League and actually settle in so well and be such a vital part of a team like Manchester United, and taking them to that next level, or narrowing the gap between themselves and clubs such as Liverpool, Chelsea and Manchester City. I think we don't have any fear of him going away for any African Cup of Nations that you have with people or players who play for clubs such as Liverpool for Mane and Mo Salah. So again, if Salah goes away in January or any part of the season for African Cup of Nations, how will that impact managers? How will that impact Liverpool themselves? So for me, I generally believe he's going to be the highest scoring player this season. And I think potentially if he can replicate it last season, I think he can get 250 points, maybe more. But definitely he'll cross the 200 points mark. It just depends on how many he will get. So that's my initial thoughts. Is I think he'll be the highest scoring player, and that's why he was the first player I put into my squad. And he's got some really good fixtures even at the start of the season. So if we look at it, he's got Leeds followed by Southampton, Wolves, Newcastle, West Ham, Aston Villa, and then after that he gets after game week 7, you can see the red number 4 difficulty rating games coming along. But I think generally he'll have a good start to the season, and even if he doesn't, I think he will come good, and he'll be a main part of United and their attacking returns. Another question I got was Foden or Grealish, who will score more points this season? So at the moment we're yet to know the confirmation of Jack Grealish's transfer to Man City. Now if he goes or doesn't go, that will obviously make a major impact. Let's say he went to Man City, will he get more minutes than Foden? I think he would, because if they're going to be paying £100 million for a player like Grealish, they're not going to bring him in to put him onto the bench. I think he'll get rotated. Obviously, there's going to be the Pep roulette, but I think generally he will play more minutes. So even if we look at his last season or season's stats, so let's get them up. Jack Grealish got 135 points, but he was injured for a majority of the end of the season. He got 6 goals and 12 assists, and 13 bonus points. He was pretty much the vocal player in Aston Villa, and he controlled how they attacked in the games and how he could assist from kind of like his own kind of performances to assist and aid. And FPL managers especially loved his contribution, and he was, a really good player to have in your squad, obviously when fit. Last season, despite being injured, Foden still got less points than him. Only played 1,607 minutes. Year on year, he's getting more minutes. So he got 888 minutes the season before, 1,600 minutes last season. I think he'll play more minutes, but in terms of returns, he got 9 goals and 8 assists. So it shows that 17 returns it's a really good return for him. I think he's slightly higher priced this season for a player who's kind of like not first choice. But I think if he's given the chance and he's given the minutes, there's no reason why he can't deliver in terms of a FPL kind of reward or return. But for me, if I had to choose out the two, based on right now, even if Grealish stays at Aston Villa, I think he'll get higher points. That's just my early prediction, or kind of like initial predictions of between the two of Foden and Jack Grealish. Another question I was asked was, do I think Iheanacho will get 20 goals this season? I don't see a reason why not, because I've actually seen some really good glimpses of him last season. I think he only got around 1,452 minutes, so I think he got 12 goals within that. Let's say he gets around 2,500 minutes. Do I think he can get 20 goals? I think he can. If he plays more than that, I think definitely he has a really good chance. He's an out-and-out goal scorer. He gets in the right positions. He has taken a few penalties. He's missed a few as well. I think generally, with his ability to finish and the service he'll get, with the quality of service he'll get, Maddison, Harvey Barnes, he's got a real good chance of getting 20 goals. If he gets it, it'll be a great achievement, but I think definitely he'll get around 15 if he gets the minutes on the pitch. How many points and goals will Ivan Toney score? Now, I've been asked this question a lot about, is he worth the risk? Is he worth bringing into your squad? I generally believe he is. For the price, he's priced at 6.5 mil. And the season he had last season, yes, it was the Championship. Yes, it's a completely different league. Yes, the defences were different. But you got to remember, guys, he's the highest scoring player in that any Championship season. 33 goals and 8 assists. And he's already owned by 37.9% of managers, and their fixtures to start off with are actually not too bad, to be fair. Not Reds at all. So Arsenal at home, I think they'll be on the kind of like adrenaline or hype of their first game, then followed by Crystal Palace, Aston Villa, Brighton and Wolves. So he's got not a bad start, to be fair. He can get stuck in. He's got penalties, so that will help score goals as well. How many goals do I think he'll get? I think between 12 to 18 potentially. I think he'll get between those. I'd say 15 then. Let's just average it out. 15 goals. How many points do I think he'll score? I think if he plays pretty much every minute, I think you're looking at around maybe 140, 150 points this season. But for the price you're paying, that's actually not a bad return if he actually does achieve that. And I think he can, because he is really good. I've seen some of his videos in terms of his goals and assists. He's an out-and-out goal scorer, and he'll get in the right positions. And if he can continue his form, then I don't see a reason why he can't get 15 goals and maybe around 140 to 150 points in FPL this season. I've also been asked what I believe will be the best formation to play this season. So my initial kind of like thoughts on the players and the prices and stuff. So I'm thinking more along the lines of 4-4-2. Now that worked really well for me the season before last season. That was my highest ever finish in the game. So I finished around the top 400,000 players that season, and I generally played 4-4-2. But at the moment, with the strikers and the prices you have, 3-4-3 seems good. So you can have like a premium striker like Kane. You can also go for like a DCL for a mid-range, and then obviously Tony or a Pukki. But if you want to spread the funds and you want to go like, maybe let's say a DCL, a Watkins, and then maybe a Tony, that's entirely your choice. Or if you want to go like, let's say a Werner, Watkins and Tony, that's completely understandable. But for me, I think 4-4-2, 3-4-3, or 4-3-3 will be the best formations for this. Or 3-5-2 as well. I forgot about that one. 3-5-2 will be a good one as well if you want to invest most of your budget in your midfield. Who do I believe will get relegated? Now, this is a controversial one. I actually don't want to talk about this one beforehand, because it's really hard to predict before the ball is kicked. So, I really don't know who will be clubs he'll face the relegation. I mean, how will Crystal Palace fare without Hodgson? How much impact did he have? He was phenomenal when he came in. They'd lost like 6 or maybe 7 games out of 7 when he took over, and they stayed up that season. So Vieira, it'll be interesting to see how he does at Crystal Palace. So it's the general clubs that come up without being kind of like a generic prospect. So maybe Brentford, Norwich, Watford. And if you bring in some existing clubs like Crystal Palace, maybe Southampton and Newcastle might be in the mix as well. But I think those are the clubs who are going to be around the relegation kind of battle, and even Brighton as well in there as well. Is Sterling worth £11 million? Well, to be fair, but judging by the performance that he's had in the Euro so far, I think it looks like a justified decision. Yes, he didn't have a great season last season, and I personally was quite surprised by his price. But let me look into a bit more for you so I can show you. He's got, in 3 seasons before last season, he scored over 200 points in every campaign. Last season wasn't as fruitful as it was before, but do you know what? It's literally, that is Raheem Sterling having, I could say, a bad season, but he's actually shown some form back in the Euros for England, so I think he's worth it. Maybe 10.5 would have been more friendly, but if you look at his stats, 17 goals, 18 goals, 20 goals, 15 assists, 17 assists in a campaign, that's not a bad return whatsoever. So the only kind of thing is, it's the risk of rotation with Pep Roulette, but he does generally get favoured by Pep, and he does get played more often than most other players in the squad. I think 10.5 would have been more fair, but watching him in the Euros, 11 mil, a lot of people might actually start bringing him in. He's owned by around 1.5% of managers at the moment, so he might be actually a good differential. And if we look at some of the fixtures for Man City, obviously they've got Tottenham, followed by Norwich, Arsenal, Leicester, Southampton. So they've got some really good games first up, which I think he's going to be a very vital part of their setup. So it'd be definitely worth considering Raheem Sterling early on. But again, if he was 10.5, I probably would have considered bringing him into my draft and my team. Who will be the high scoring defender, midfielder, forward? So high scoring defender, let's just I'm not going to state the obvious or go for the comment. I think generally Alexander-Arnold will be back this season. So Trent wasn't the highest scoring defender last season. He got 160 points, only 2 goals and 8 assists. But I think generally he was showing glimpses of getting back to form. He was selected for England before he got that injury in the kind of warm-up games. But I think he'll be back. He'll be a threat. And I think he will be one of the favourites to be the top scoring defender. High scoring midfielder, I think he'll be Bruno Fernandes. High scoring forward, Kane, obviously, is going to be in and around there. I'm not sure, maybe Vardy might be close by. Looking at other strikers in the league this season, let's have a look. Who is there? Yeah, so I think it's going to be pretty much Kane, Aubameyang, or Vardy, one of the three, but I think Kane will be the highest scoring attacker. If Sancho plays, will Greenwood play? I've mentioned this in one of my other videos. I generally believe that Greenwood will get minutes this season. I think the setup will be around making sure he plays kind of further up field, up front. Sancho, Bruno, Pogba will be kind of like behind him, and Rashford as well, and he'll be the one out front. Obviously, Cavani will play in and out of the games as well, but I think Greenwood will get the kind of chance to play up front. It'll be worth seeing how Ollie sets up his team, but Greenwood for me will play even if Sancho does come over. Which player is overpriced this FPL season? I generally thought I was going to say Sterling, but I've seen him perform in the Euros. But for me personally, this might raise a few eyebrows, but I think Kevin De Bruyne is a bit overpriced for this season. I'll tell you the reason why. I'm pretty much going by last season. So I know he was injured and he played 995 minutes. He only got 6 goals and 12 assists. Obviously, comparing to the season before, he was far superior with 251 points, 13 goals and 23 assists. But I just think he's a bit too much. Based on last season's stats, he was even starting to get rotated. They buy Grealish. If they get Kane, maybe he will get higher points than last season. But again, I think 11 mil for him would have been fair. But 12 mil, I think he's a bit slightly overpriced. I'd rather go for someone like a Bruno Fernandes, who I know who will play more minutes, and he's on penalties guaranteed as well. Who's on penalties for City? We don't know yet. If Kane comes, will Kane go on to penalties? So again, his goals potentially will go down, but he's still on like corners and free kicks. So that's a given. I mean, never write Kevin De Bruyne off. I'm not writing him off whatsoever, but I don't believe he's worth 12 mil. I think he is slightly overpriced. 11 mil would definitely have been a fair price for a player of his stature. So those are the questions and my initial predictions and thoughts on the FPL game so far, and the players' prices, players' ability, and players' predictions. Let me know what your thoughts are. If there are any questions you have, please let me know. Hit the like button if you've liked this video. Hit the subscribe button to subscribe to my channel for latest content. And in addition, hit the notifications bell icon to get the latest notifications. Join the FPL INKLING League. The code's on the bottom left. Contact me on social media, which is stated at the bottom as well. I hope you guys have a good day, and I shall see you guys soon.